seconds. I know Instagram's live. Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Shiva Ayadure. We're live on Instagram, on YouTube, and Facebook, as well as Periscope. Good evening. It's about 9:38 p.m. Many of you know I've been extremely busy on the campaign trail. We have about 25 days left to the September 1st Republican primary. It's a very, very important time because I still continue to do my science, but I'm out there campaigning very, very hard. If you go look at our Twitter, Facebook, YouTube feeds, you can see all the videos out there. But it's very important for people to know that the campaign that we're running in Massachusetts, those of you who want to follow it can go to shiva4senate.com. I want to also welcome everyone. Michelle, who's signing in from there? We have people from all over the world and country and Massachusetts logging in. It's great to have you. We have people, anyone coming in from there?
They're just writing comments.
Oh, Arizona. Okay, there's people from Argentina. Oh, Argentina. I was in Argentina. People from Anaheim, California, Massachusetts, Wilbraham. Great. So a lot of people are signing in, but it's really important for everyone to know wherever you are, whether you're outside of the United States, outside of Massachusetts, in the United States, or in Massachusetts, September 1st is the Republican primary. If anyone that you know is in Massachusetts, whether they're registered as no party or a Republican, please tell them to come vote. I don't really care for either party establishments. I care for the people, but I don't care for the Republican Party establishment or the Democratic Party establishment. They both work together against you and me. Our campaign for U.S. Senate, as many of you know, is based on principles, and we will not violate those principles. Those principles are the principles of truth, freedom, and health. Without freedom, without debate, without discussion, and by the way, when we mean debate, which means, real debate, not people wanting to just debate for debate's sake, but for real people who want to actually have a conversation to get to the truth, with that basis, we can have freedom and we can get to truth by practicing the scientific method. From truth, we can identify real problems and get to real solutions to get to the health of our body, our infrastructure, pretty much anything on the planet, or the universe. And from that health, we have the strength to fight for freedom. So that's what the campaign's based on. I encourage everyone to go to shiva4senate.com. A couple of important things on the website. If people go to the events section on the right side, you can see that we were just in Shrewsbury, Marlborough today. Tomorrow we're in Swansea, Dartmouth, but there's a whole events calendar. Those of you who want to come meet me, meet the campaign, get lawn signs, please go check out the events calendar. In addition, one of the important things to realize is, we have raised money from all of you, from all your generosity, bottoms up. We have not taken money from PACs or corporations, any of that. And many of you, by the way, you can only donate if you're in the United States. And if you donate 25 or more, if you go to the website, it's a very nominal amount. You get access to an ebook version of System and Revolution, where I teach you the systems nature of pretty much everything in the universe, everything from your body, to a computer, to pretty much everything, the fundamental principles. This is what I discovered out of my Fulbright research. I want you to all take advantage of that. And then as a part of that, you also get access to a tool that I created called Your Body, Your System, which helps you apply these principles. It's almost a laboratory to understand what kind of system you are, how your body can get away from where it's supposed to be, and how through the inputs of food and supplements and exercise, you can bring you back to you. Those of you outside of the United States who also want the tool, you've been sending me lots of emails, you can directly go to Your Body, Your System, yourbodyyoursystem.com, and you can get the tool directly from, if you click on Get Started Now. So I encourage you to do that if you want to do that. But what the tool allows you to do is you answer a set of questions, and it figures out where your red dot is within this triangle. All right. And that triangle is a triangle of transport, conversion, and storage. Those are the three vertex names. Transport is the forces of movement. Conversion is the forces of change, conversion, like digestion is a conversion element. Storage is that aspects of your body that provide structure and storage. So these are the fundamental engineering systems principles, and I was able to connect them through my Fulbright research to traditional systems of Indian medicine. I made a very cool discovery, which comes out in Your Body, Your System. And then you can use to find out where you're also deviated from you. That's the black dot as you're seeing here. Those of you on Instagram, you can go to YouTube to see this, or to Facebook. And then you can figure out, the system actually helps educate you to figure out, hey, if you eat this food, it'll increase transport this much or reduce conversion this much. So you can use the combinations of foods and supplements to bring you back to you. It's a very powerful tool. It basically takes a lot of the guesswork out of how your body is a system. So I encourage you to take advantage of this. But these systems principles are not just about your body. You can use these systems principles to frankly understand everything in the universe as a system. So that's what the goal of your body, your system is, but that's really the fundamental goal of our movement here for truth, freedom, and health, for you to start seeing the interconnections between things, truth and freedom and health, or components of your body, so you can figure out the right solution for the right person, which is you at the right time. And that's how we really get to health. We don't get to health by a top-down form of medicine, all right? So please support the campaign, get out there. You can donate to the campaign. And obviously, those of you who want to do other but donate, you can go to the volunteer area and get on the volunteer. You can join the campaign. You can get lawn signs. If you click this join button on the right side, you can join local WhatsApp groups. But most importantly, please tell everyone you know in Massachusetts to vote September 1st. And one of the things I want to play for you, I always do, is I want to play for you our video that we've been using for our campaign. And it's a very compelling video. Let me bring it up here. And it really shares with you. Let me start here. Let me blow it up here a little bit, make it bigger so everyone can see it. But I wanted to share this with you for those of you who haven't seen it.
Who would have ever thought I'd be running for United States Senate? I was born a low caste untouchable in India's caste system, a system of aristocracy, oppression, and racism. My name is Dr.SHIVA Ayyadurai. I'm an MIT PhD, a Fulbright scholar, a scientist, entrepreneur, and inventor. My family and I left India to come to America on my 7th birthday. I grew up in the working class neighborhoods of New Jersey, playing baseball, mowing lawns, painting houses, and coding software. My friends and neighbors are Black, Italians, Irish, people of all races. As a 14-year-old, I created the world's first email system, long before I ever heard of MIT. Growing up, I saw politicians dividing us by race and religion, in America or India, to have us fighting each other while they were safe in their gated communities with their lawyers by their side. I'm a fighter. I fought racism, exposed their imperialist wars, fought for workers, and put my life on the line against global corruption. I never wanted to run for political office. All that changed in 2016. Americans rose up against the establishment. We remembered we had all left a world of injustice to come to America to make a better life. We realized lawyers, academics, and politicians, elites, Clintons, Romneys, Kennedys, Obamas, Bushes, black and white, had hijacked America. They gave bailouts to their friends. They delivered crumbling infrastructure, corruption, and racism, dividing black and white, killing us, fear-mongering and fake science, lockdowns and censorship, dirty air, food, and water, pushing drugs upon us, making us sicker. We've been sold out. One set of rules for them, another for us. We deserve a warrior with a history of courage who will put everything on the line for you. It's time to fight and win back America. That's why I'm running for U.S. Senate. This race is about truth, freedom, and health versus power, profit, and control. We've had enough. They think we'll fall in line and vote again for their lawyers who get them off crimes. They never can represent us. What America needs is digital rights. We need citizen science. We need real health with no middlemen. We don't have time. We must do it now. We don't need them. We need us to go bottoms up, neighbor to neighbor. My journey, your journey are all the same. It's our time. It's time we add one of us. It's time we make America great for all of us. Vote for Dr. Shiva Ayyadurai on September 1st.
All right, so that's the campaign video. So I hope everyone enjoys it. Share that with everyone. Please share that with everyone. So let's go talk about Neem. All right, let's talk about Neem. I hope that was valuable. We must win this election for truth, freedom, and health. Remember, Massachusetts is a center. It's the epicenter of the deep state. It's also the epicenter of the medical establishment, which wants to do top-down medicine. It wants to force vaccinate us. It's where the strategy is being laid out for essentially immunity passports. And it's also the place where everyone's promoting methods of, quote unquote cures, which have nothing to do with boosting the immune system. I have been hitting hard about the need to boost the immune system. That's how we all win. That's where real health comes from, not from vaccinating, wearing these stupid masks, which socially, quote unquote, distance people, which socially isolate people, and frankly, are really ineffective. If we really care about public health, we have to go to boosting the immune system. And so starting about several weeks ago, I started sharing data and analysis that we run through this very powerful technology that I created on how you can actually boost your immune system. All right, so today is going to be about Neem. Neem is one of the most powerful plants. It's growing up in India. I used it in very interesting ways, and I'll talk about that. Let me just bring up the slide presentation first, so I have that queued up. So there we go. And before I go there, let me tell you. So Neem is what we're going to be talking about today. Neem comes from a tree. And, I grew up as a young child, I grew up in New Jersey. After I was 7, I emigrated to the United States when I was 7 years old. But before that, I had a different childhood growing up in India, in the city of Bombay, an amazing city of all different cultures and religions and castes and languages. But I also grew up in a small village in deep South India, in a village called Muhabur, Muhabur. And my grandmother was a traditional healer. And in that village, I was exposed to all different kinds of natural medicines because my grandmother worked in the fields, and she also, on the weekend, she was a healer. But, when you got up in the morning, by the way, that village had no running water, no electricity, none of that. So it was a very different lifestyle. But when I got up in the morning, you would go out into the woods to go, do all your early morning duties. But one of the things you did was, they didn't have toothbrushes. But you would, as you walked, to bathe or river, there would be a neem tree, and you would, it had branches with these very cool leaves. You would take a branch of the neem tree, typically about this much, and you would chew the end of it, and literally creating like a brush at the end, and that's what you used to clean your teeth. And what I'm going to share with you today, among the many powerful aspects of Neem actually breaks up dental plaque. 50 years later now, that was when I was about a 4 or 5 year old kid. I used to do that. I can explain to you why, but that's one of the powerful things that Neem can do. So let me share this now. So as I start, those of you, you've asked me, hey, Dr. Shiva, what are the other things you do? You can go to my own website, my personal website, vashiva.com. And on vashiva.com, you'll see all the different things I'm involved in. I created the first email system when I was a 14-year-old kid. I've been involved in medical research for a long time. I was a 14-year-old research fellow at Rutgers, what is now known as Rutgers Medical School, back in 1978, where I not only created the first email system, but I was doing research in why babies were dying in their sleep. And obviously I'm running. You can also go learn more about CytoSolve, is a technology that I created out of my PhD work at MIT. And to keep it simple, what CytoSolve does, as you can see in this diagram here, CytoSolve actually is a technology, a mathematical modeling technology that uses the computer based on the technology I built and the software I created to basically model cellular activity, molecular mechanisms on the computer long before we go and kill animals, long before we waste time in the wet lab. It's very much like if you're building an airplane, as I'm showing here, you come up with a new design. You may come up with thousands and thousands of designs. So instead of building the airplane, putting a pilot in, killing them, today we do all of that work on the computer, in silico on the computer. So we model the airplane on the computer, all the different millions of potential wing designs. Then we figure out we throw away all the ones that don't work, and then we build the one in a wind tunnel, check that out. And then we don't, lose a lot of pilots. But you notice we take data, we mine it, we use the equations of physics to understand that. And that's what CytoSolve really is. And what CytoSolve does, it addresses this following problem. When people do development of any type of medicines, for example, today, what is considered the gold standard today's pharmaceutical development, the way that they actually do that development, as you can see here in this diagram, is they go through the following way. They take a new compound, they test it in a test tube, okay? In the test tube, maybe cancer cells or maybe, brain cells, neural cells, whatever the disease they want to do. They simulate the disease in the test tube. Then if they think that's working there, and by the way, in pharmaceutical world, a single compound is a chemical that does not occur in nature typically. It's manufactured, man-made. And then if they feel like that's being efficacious, it works, then they go get animals, kill a lot of animals to prove that it's not toxic to them and it's efficacious. That takes around 6 years. Then they get allowance by the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration of the United States, and then they have the right to do phase 1 trials with humans, small groups of humans, phase 2, phase 3. So that's the process that they go through. Takes, as you can see, 13 years, tons of money. And the drug that comes out of that only works for 10% of the people that it was intended for. 90% get side effects and all these other things. And you can sue pharma companies. And what you're seeing here is over the last 10, 20 years, pharmaceutical companies spend more and more and more money on R&D because they're not finding real things that work. And the FDA is allowing less and less of them out on the market. That's what that purple line. So their model is busted. It's broken. This is why pharmaceutical companies are actually crashing. This is why they need to move to vaccines. It's a money-hungry game they're involved in. Now, so that's the politics of it and the business of it. Now, in 2003, when I came back to MIT to do my PhD, something interesting occurred. As I've shared before, as this graph really brings out, is that the Genome Project had ended, and it started in 1993. And what we figured out was we only have 20,000 genes, the same number of genes as a worm. As you can see, it started at 100,000, the estimates. And what this showed was that we have the same number of genes, which means we are not that different than a worm, okay? Meaning on the number of genes. What it does show, however, is that, let me go down here. What it does show is that, we need to take a systems approach to medicine. It's not the number of genes. So this led into a field called systems biology, which said if we want to understand the whole human being, we need to not just look at the genes or proteins. We need to start looking at the cell beyond the nucleus and starting to see all the molecular reactions that are taking place. And when I came back to MIT in 2003, the goal was, could I build a technology which could look at all these little, so if you look at any disease like cancer or Alzheimer's or immune health, you have all these little molecular pathways like jigsaw puzzles that people are discovering in their little labs as they're doing experiment. Now, if you could connect those together, then you could model on the computer the human cell, and that way we could avoid animal testing. So that's what CytoSolve was. I created a technology which could take pieces of the molecular reactions, interconnect them mathematically, and put them together. So that's what CytoSolve is. It's really an engine for enabling truth, freedom, and health. We work together with a lot of major institutions. We create collaborations. It's an open system. So, we've published papers on this, but fundamentally we can take a field like Neem, which we're going to talk about today. How does it affect immune health? Find those papers, extract out the molecular mechanisms, interconnect them, and then be a scientific source of truth versus cherry picking. So that's what CytoSolve does. Very much like building airplanes, we basically do it on the computer. So we eliminate all the things that are going to be toxic, never work, save money, time, and increase efficacy. Okay. So an example, as I've shared many times, but it makes it very simple and clear to most people. Here's an example of, let's say you want to mix something like turmeric, which is, we've talked about several weeks ago, which is an herb that reduces inflammation, has amazing anti-cancer effect. And then you want to integrate that with, red grapes, the active ingredient there, resveratrol. So imagine you want to have your curry Indian meal and you want to mix it with red wine. Well, what does that do in your body? Well, we can take all the papers that were written about turmeric, about 16,000 papers, extract them, look at the inflammatory processes. There's around 6,000 papers. And what you've seen here is we're looking at the active ingredient curcumin. The outer circle is a cell wall. The inner circle is a nuclear wall. And we've literally brought all this stuff together to look at all the places that curcumin interacts at the molecular systems level, and then mathematically model it. Similarly, we've done that for resveratrol, and then we could figure out how these combine. Remember, food is not a single drug molecule. It's a combination. So I can do it with 2, we can do it with hundreds. We've done this with thousands of different molecules. And then we can run on the computer simulation experiments. So in this case, the far right column here represents a variable which means for inflammation, which denotes inflammation. So 0.15 means you have high inflammation. I'm not giving any curcumin, as you can see in column 2 and column 3, and it stays high. But then when I give curcumin alone, as you can see in column 2, it goes down to 0.05. When I just give resveratrol by itself in column 3, it goes down to 0.06. But when I do the combination of turmeric, curcumin, and let's say red grapes, the resveratrol, look what happens. Even though I've reduced the curcumin, reduced the resveratrol, you get even a better synergistic effect. It drops down to 0.03. So this is why food is medicine. And it's really unfortunate that that is not what medical doctors are taught. What medical doctors are unfortunately taught, and they're taken advantage of, is drugs, drugs, drugs. Why? Because the Western system of medicine was actually developed for crisis after you got screwed up. After. And this is really unfortunate because that is not, do no harm, which is a Hippocratic oath. It's waiting for you to get harmed. Instead, it should focus on all the things we can do for prevention and maintenance. And that's where real health comes from. However, when the amount of money, the amount of power, profit, and control is involved, people don't think about that. It's about money, money, money. All right. But what we want to talk about is giving power back to you. And one of the ways is to understand this very powerful herb called Neem. Okay. Neem. And let's talk about Neem. So what is Neem? Okay. As I mentioned, it's a tree. It grows around you, but it's mainly cultivated in the Indian subcontinent. You can see people make juice out of it. They can make, the bark. It's many components. It's been around, the tree as use has been known for nearly 4,500 years. Think about that. Think about that. Western medicine is maybe a couple hundred years old. This root, this tree, the essence of this has been used for 4,500 years. Imagine all the people that has gone through quote unquote clinical testing. Now, you can use the fruits of it. You can use the seeds of it. You can use the oil, the leaves, the bark, and they've all shown to have amazing prevention of many, many diseases. In fact, the U.S. National Academy of Science declared Neem a tree for solving global problems. That comes from, finally, even the Academy of Sciences has had to accept that. It's got about 140 different chemical compounds, 140. So think about that. So I want to emphasize this. A plant like Neem, a plant like, cannabis or curcumin, these don't just have one chemical compound. They have many different chemical compounds. In this case, we're looking at 140 different chemical compounds. All right. 140 different chemical compounds. And those chemical compounds, so most of the medical benefits, as we know today, are derived from two groups of these compounds. One are called isoprenoids, okay? Isoprenoids, di and triprenoids, and non-isoprenoids. So these isoprenoids are one group of compounds, and the non-isoprenoids, which include phenolic compounds, glycoproteins. Now, these are the compounds that have, there's about 15 of them, which have the most medicinal benefits. And you can see here, it's azadirachtin, gadunin, epitakin, which comes also in green tea, quercetin, melatonin, nimbin, nimbolide, nimbolin, nimbolin A and nimbolin B, salinin, margolone, vepanin, gallic acid, melaninone, and nimbidin by itself, okay? So you can see these compounds there. These are organic compounds, but these are the 15 active compounds people find and have very powerful effects. So I always like to summarize where we're going, but here are the key takeaways, and we'll come back to this, but this is where we're headed today. These are the 4 important takeaways you need to be aware of as I walk through this. First of all, Neem inhibits inflammatory enzymes like COX-2 and 5-LOX, and it modulates the runaway immune system. So remember, it's not the virus or the pathogen or the bacteria that kills you. It's your own body's overreaction that attacks your own system. And this is something you need to educate your family and your friends on, because the lies of the pharmaceutical industry, the lies of the fake news media are to tell you, oh my God, this virus is going to attack you. It's total nonsense. What really happens is it's your own weakened and dysfunctional immune system that attacks itself, and the virus is just a stimulator that starts that. Now, Neem activates your adaptive immune system to kill viruses directly. It's very powerful. Neem has antiviral activity, and Neem also inhibits dental plaque. Okay, that's why, you know, when my grandmother told me to do it, now we know why. It actually inhibits dental plaque formation and reduces bacteria. The other thing Neem does, it also kills bacterial and fungi by destroying their membrane. Okay, so those are the 4 things we can go through. Now, the important issue is when you look at the Neem tree, each part has very different benefits. So, for example, in the Indian and traditional system of medicine, and people have shown this, the leaf, for example, is good for leprosy, eye problems, intestinal worms. You know, Neem, you know, it's a great dewormer, anorexia, biliousness, skin ulcers. The flower of Neem suppresses bile, bile suppression for liver areas, elimination of intestinal worms and phlegm. It's the twig, you know, it relieves cough, asthma, piles, supports, sperm development, helps resolve, urinary problems as well as diabetes. The bark is an analgesic and an antipyretic. The fruit relieves piles, if people are having problems with hemorrhoids, those kind of things, intestinal worms again, urinary disorders, eye problems again, diabetes, wounds, and leprosy. The gum, many of these trees have a sap, like the maple tree, but the gum of it is effective against skin diseases, ringworms again, wounds and ulcers. The seed is for leprosy and intestinal worms, and the oil for leprosy and intestinal worms. And the root, the bark, the leaf, and the flower together, when you combine them together, they're good for, disorders with the blood, itching, burning sensation, leprosy. So it's an incredible tree, okay? And you can see from this diagram, Neem has all these amazing effects: anti-cancer, anti-diabetic, supports the brain, anti-inflammatory, antiviral, antibacterial, antifungal, antioxidant, anti-malarial, hepatoprotective, which means it protects the liver, toxicity, right? Helps eliminate toxins, wound healing, it modulates the immune system, and has anti-cancer activity. To review, if you all remember, the immune system that is used by Fauci, that's promoted by the CDC, that's the basis of vaccine development, is a very primitive model. It's about 100 years old, saying that, you have these 2 boxes, the innate immune system, that part of your immune system that is exposed to the world, right? This stuff in your eyes, your nose, the ears. Fauci wants you to wear now goggles and also masks. This is a very stupid way. It's not going to the root cause of the problem. If you have a strong immune system, your innate immune system should be able to handle that. Everything right? So that innate immune system is in your mucous membranes, etc. And when you are exposed to some type of virus or pathogen, that immune system unleashes a whole set of cells to go take out the enemy, non-specifically, just shoots everywhere. And then you have the adaptive immune system, which is like sharpshooters, which create an antibody in the case of a virus to take that out. But anyway, this is a model, a very old model of the immune system. And the basis of that is to say, let's, artificially inject you with a vaccine, subverting your innate immune system, and voila, you'll generate antibodies. You're going to be okay. Well, it doesn't, frankly, we're noticing that many of those vaccines, you have to keep giving them. It causes injuries. The real truth is the immune system is far more complex. It's not just the innate, it's not just the adaptive. It contains this amazing thing called the interferon system, which my PhD work was on. We also have the microbiome in the gut and everywhere, all these 60 trillion bacteria, another 380 trillion viruses we have. And that microbiome virome is interconnected to our neural system. So the immune system is far more complex. And to say that everyone should take the same thing is frankly dumb, and it's fake science. So when you look at it, Neem, when it comes to supporting the immune system, Neem, first of all, modulates all the mechanisms of the immune system so your immune system doesn't overreact. It activates the cells of the adaptive immune system, and as we're going to talk about, shown to be antiviral, antibacterial, antifungal. Okay? Now, how does it modulate the immune system. So modulation means that your immune system doesn't overreact and doesn't cause a cytokine storm, okay? Very, very important. That's how you have a strong immune system. You don't want to have an immune system that's freaking out all the time, okay? Fauci and the vaccine companies want your immune system to always be freaked out, and their cure-all is always a vaccine. By the way, I'm not pro or anti-vax. My issue is to tell everyone to take the same thing is frankly dumb, it's criminal, and it's not real science. But when you really start looking at the immune system, you start realizing to strengthen the immune system, your body, it's like you have a good car, it has good shocks on it, right? It knows how to take a bump. So what you can see here, what Neem does, remember I told you there are all those different chemicals, those 15. Now the azadirachtin, the nimbidin, and the nimbolide, these three are in neem oil extracts. These three chemicals do something very, very powerful. They modulate and they suppress the transcription factor known as NF-kappa beta. Now, NF-kappa beta is a molecule that actually turns on your immune system to create these pro-inflammatory compounds like COX-2, which is an enzyme, 5-LOX, which give rise respectively to PGE2, as you can see in this diagram, and leukotrienes, which cause inflammation. But NF-kappa beta also upregulates IL-6, IL-1 alpha, TNF alpha, and IL-1 beta. These are also inflammatory cytokines. Now, you need a certain amount of inflammation if you have a wound or you're under attack. But the issue is, if that is not modulated with good shock absorbers, they just keep, they don't know when to turn off, and your body starts attacking itself. This is the issue of a good immune system. It knows when to turn on, and it knows when to turn off. So what Neem does, it modulates that. It modulates NF-kappa beta with those, particularly the neem seed oil extracts with those three chemicals. And by the way, a lot of literature has been done on this. This is not fake science. This is basically interconnecting a bunch of those chemical pathways. So that was number one. Number two, Neem has antiviral effect. Antiviral has been known for 4,000 years. 4,000 years plus. The neem leaf. So this is from the neem oil. This is from the neem leaf. And what neem leaf does, it increases the production in the interferon system of a very, very important interferon called interferon gamma. I did a lot of research on this for my PhD work, but interferon gamma is extremely important because when you increase interferon gamma, look what happens. Interferon gamma increases the production of adaptive and innate immune cells. So the interferon system supports both the innate and the adaptive. Fauci will never talk about it. The CDC will never talk about this because they are all in collusion to just basically get everyone vaccinated. And it's not a conspiracy theory. It's unfortunately the business dynamics. But interferon gamma increases Th1 cells and cytotoxic T cells. So why is that important? Th1 cells in the adaptive immune system are extremely important to increasing IL-2, interferon gamma, and TNF beta. And those really modulate the adaptive immune system. So the cytotoxic T cells on the other side kill the virus and mitigate the infection. And so this has been, look, polio virus has been around for centuries. This is how the Indians for years used it against polio virus and herpes simplex virus type 1, okay? It's effective against this. Again, this has been in the literature, but you will never hear it on mainstream media. You'll never hear it being discussed broadly in academia because it takes away the trillions that they want to make from vaccination. But again, you can see that the neem leaf extract has a powerful effect in two ways. It increases cytotoxic T cells through interferon gamma, which knocks out viruses, polio virus, where it's been shown to be effective, as well as herpes simplex virus type 1. And then it also, as you see, drives cytotoxic T cells, okay? So that's number two, antiviral effect, okay? The third thing that Neem does, it has antibacterial effect. This is why as a kid, as I mentioned, we used to take the neem branch, chew on the ends and use it as our brush. People couldn't afford, you didn't get this plastic toothbrush and brushing and throwing away. You just use the neem branch. Once a day, you got a new toothbrush in some sense. And what it does is the neem bark, particularly the neem bark and the neem seed oil extract, break up dental plaque. Just break it up. Because remember, what happens is the overaccumulation of that dental plaque is what causes tooth decay, right? So the dental plaque is a sequential colonization of bacteria on the tooth surface. A lot of bacteria, that's what it piles up. And 1 gram of plaque, 1 gram of plaque contains 100 billion, okay? 100 billion bacteria, all right? 100 billion bacteria. And neem bark and seed oil extracts exhibit antibacterial effect through the inhibition of that plaque formation and slowing their growth. So if you can, I wish I could get those trees. I think there's some companies now actually starting to sell the neem bark or the branches. You can buy them at the stores, you chew them and use them. I saw this at one store. So anyway, we always go back to basics. And then finally, now we're going to talk about antifungal and antibacterial properties of neem. So bacteria and fungi, right? They're different than viruses. And what neem seed oil with the azadirachtin does is it actually blows up the surface membranes, the membranes of bacteria and as well as fungi. And that's because of the azadirachtin that disrupts the cell walls. And the cell wall disruption leads to leakage of the intracellular content, and leakage of the intracellular content leads to disturbance in the osmotic pressure, and then it eventually kills the bacteria fungi. Okay? Quite extraordinary. So how much should you take? Well, a maintenance dose is around 12 milliliters a day of neem oil. 12 milliliters, you can figure out it's about a very small amount. You can get it in capsules. Now, remember I said neem oil has been shown to be very valuable for many other things. Congestive heart failure, for example, Shaw et al. In 58 showed about 250 milligrams a day of sodium nimbidinate, right, which is the active compound in neem, supports that. For anti-cancer effect, Bando Padey, et cetera, showed that around 60 to 1,200 milligrams a day of the neem seed bark has anti-ulcer effect. But I don't want people to think this is just sort of Eastern folklore. There's been really over 3,200 papers done on this, over 3,200 papers, over 30 clinical trials. And neem has been studied, since, the early 1900s for about 105 years. So again, remember, one of the things I always end these discussions with is now interconnected back to a systems approach. So what I just shared with you is a molecular systems analysis of neem, going bottoms up. But we can also look at it from an engineering systems approach. As I've shared with all of you before, let me just go back to this. Those of you who are very interested in systems, you've written to me. Those of you who support our campaign, as I've mentioned before, if you go and donate to the campaign, and you can only do that if you're in the United States, by the way, just to be clear. But when you donate to the campaign, I have a book called, System and Revolution. And when you support the campaign, you get access to this great book. It teaches you the theory of systems, but I also give you access to this tool called Your Body, Your System. But one of the cool things you learn from Your Body, Your System, which came out of my work, my Fulbright work in integrating Eastern and Western medicine. And what came out of that is you can view your body as having 3 forces, the forces of transport, as shown in this, that's the top here, conversion and storage. And so what you find is foods can increase transport, conversion, and storage in different ways. Every food has a different effect, or substances do. And for those of you who are interested more in really getting trained on this approach, you can go to my institute, systemshealth.com. I just saw someone pinging me again. Systemshealth.com is an educational institute I started about 10 years ago, which really trains people in certification programs to understand the body as a system. There's some basic courses, there's advanced course. In fact, we just started a master certification program that's around 25 different courses, but you really start looking at the body as a system, and you can get certified in this. But one of the key elements of this is that when you start looking at herbs and foods, you can see that foods contain the forces of transport, conversion, and storage. So when we go back to our slide presentation here, we can now start looking at the neem plant as a systems approach, okay, from a systems perspective. And what you find here, when you look at it that way, is that Neem increases transport, okay? It increases movement, okay? This is one of the powerful things of Neem. When it can eliminate worms out of your system, right? So it increases movement, right? It stabilizes conversion, okay, which is digestion. People having digestion problems, and it stabilizes storage. So it helps people with diabetes. But you can see this is another way to look at Neem from a system standpoint. It increases transport issues, it stabilizes conversion, and it stabilizes storage. All right, so that's from the West or Eastern, or from the systems perspective. And then finally, in closing, as I shared before, for those of you who are just joining, you can go back and look at the video. The important things are, number one, Neem modulates the immune system by controlling the overexpression of certain inflammatory markers. Two, Neem directly can kill a virus. It's been shown to be effective against poliovirus, the herpes virus, and Neem inhibits the formation of dental plaque in your mouth. It's a great thing for maintaining dental health, and it actually kills the bacteria and fungi by disrupting the cell wall. So I would say this is an amazing plant. It has so many amazing effects, and particularly support the immune system. Let me see what we have in questions, etc. But I hope this was valuable to all of you to understand the value of Neem and how you can use it, to support your family and your health, etc. Let me see what other questions we have. Let me see what comments people are also posting here. Neem is impressive, someone just says. Yep. Please don't let them use mail-in ballots. Yeah. Well, look, I'm not going to use mail-in ballots. I'm going to vote. It has basically been created to basically try to manipulate the entire election. Someone just said, thank you. I've never heard of Neem. Well, anyway, I'm glad you heard about it. You probably heard about the other plants, but Neem is out there. Please go study. And I hope this gives you a framework for doing those. Someone said, what is an herb for shingles? I saw a few papers written about this for shingles. Remember, Neem has antiviral properties, antibacterial. My view is that it's not only for any particular bacteria or virus, it's what they've studied today. So you may want to explore Neem also for shingles and other types of, diseases like that. Yes, great, very important point. I thought Neem killed bugs. Good question. Very, very important. In agriculture, people for centuries in India have been using Neem as a way to keep bugs away. In fact, what happened was Germans tried to come into India and try to patent Neem. And fortunately, they were stopped from doing that. But if you have a garden, many people, traditional agriculturists, people will put Neem leaves down, and use Neem as a way to keep bugs away. It's a natural, quote unquote, pesticide, to keep bugs away. So someone said Neem is very impressive. It definitely is. Kimberly Agnew-Dickey said that. Someone said, which Neem we get, pills, oil, what dose? Yeah, so if you review the video, it shares in there the different kinds of use, but typically the Neem oil is very valuable. And some of them contain combinations. I'm not going to promote any particular thing, but ideally you should get the organic version. Yes, your body, your system. Again, I can't overemphasize to those of you who came in a little bit late, I am running for U.S. Senate. We're running a very unique Senate campaign. I don't think you'll find any Senate candidates teaching you at 10 at night how to support your body and support your immune system. But that's what we're doing. And that's why I'm running for Senate, because I'm convinced that we need everyday working people like you and us, people who create, scientists, engineers, nurses, plumbers, electricians. Working people need to be involved in our future. No more lawyers. I'm running against 3 lawyers in Massachusetts. So please go to Shiva for Senate. So if you like these videos, support the campaign, because I believe you deserve one of us. And that's what this campaign is. When you support the campaign, I teach you about the immune system. I teach you about systems. You get access to your body, your system. Please take advantage of those of you outside of the United States or Please tell all your friends to vote September 1st. Get the word out. Please share it with people. This great video that we did, which shares my journey, which is about you and I. It's about a common journey, and it's right on Shiva for Senate. Get that video out. But September 1st, let's make history. It's time that we win truth, freedom, and health. We got to win this, guys. September 1st. September 1st, tell all your friends in Massachusetts to vote September 1st in the primary election. Anything else? Can we directly take neem oil? Yeah, it's a very, very bitter oil, okay? It has a very bitter effect, okay? Because it gets rid of worms. So, study about it. Great, neem helps hair grow. That's great. We should do one on that. How do you feel about COVID pass? I'm assuming you're asking about the COVID passports. Is that what you're asking about? Maybe you can just clarify. Or the immunity passports. What can we take neem oil? Will it help kill bacteria without cell walls? Well, remember, it disrupts not only the bacteria, but it also destroys at many levels different of the bacterial function, particularly the osmotic pressure. So it has many, many different effects on bacteria and other types of pathogens. Anu's saying, spread the word, share videos, vote September 1st, sign up at shivaforsenate.com. Yes, please do that. Thanks, Anu. Thanks for reminding everyone. Okay, yes, someone said, will I be covering Triphala? Yes, Sheba Dunduran. We're going to be doing a whole thing on Triphala. Is a mixture of 3 different herbs, very powerful. Someone said, thank you for this impressive debate versus Fauci. Yeah, by the way, the debate that we had against Fauci, Fauci didn't show up, so we had a great medic who played. That video was getting to around 1 million views within 4 hours on Facebook, and the scumbags at Facebook took it down because Mark Zuckerberg and his wife actually own their own vaccine company, okay, quote unquote nonprofit, and they're all buddies with Fauci. Anyway, this is why we need someone like me in the Senate, so I could be pounding away for the next 6 years for all of us. So please tell everyone, Shiva for Senate, September 1st, September 1st, September 1st. Let's make history together. Anyway, thank you, everyone. Victory for truth, freedom, and health. Let's be the light and win, win, win. We have no choice. 2020 is going to be the year that we head into the dark age, where we all become force vaccinated, immunity passports, a few set of elites get to do what they want, and we essentially become slaves to a very deep medical establishment. That's where we're at. And I've been a warrior for this for most of my life, so I find myself in a very interesting position being able to be of service, but I need your help. You guys got to tell everyone to vote September 1st, support the campaign, volunteers, donate, whatever they can. But it's September 1st. It's today's August 5th. So we basically have 26 days, 25 days. Everyone do your part, make history. Each one of you can support this from wherever you are. If you're outside of Massachusetts, outside of the United States, tell your friends in Massachusetts, vote. If you're outside of Massachusetts, but in the United States, donate to the campaign, volunteer, go to the volunteer site, sign up, and we'll get someone in touch with you and support the campaign. Anyway, thank you very much. Thank you to all of you for your incredible support. We all the donations we received, $5, $1, $3, $10, $25, all come from you. And that's how we're able to support this campaign. Thank you. Be the light, be well. We must win this fight. Thank you.